let's see. Board of Trustees regular meeting is now called to order at 4:35 p.m. We welcome members of the public who are not here. Instructions on making public comment are posted on item 1 of the agenda, and we'll ask each item if there is any public comments. Catherine, will you please do a roll call?
Trustee Baker. Here. Trustee
Here.
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 Trustee Goff. Here. Trustee Iverson.
Here. Here. Thank you. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. How you want to do the Pledge of Allegiance? Do you know what the Pledge of Allegiance is? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Talked with Trustee Baldini about one change to the agenda. Catherine, I'll tell you after this. But we do have a few changes. One, we are going to be moving item 11.1 final budget items. Consolidate that with item 7.1 as part of the public hearing. We can do them together. And we are going to be removing consent calendar item 10.1. Addendum to contract with the Scion Group, so cross that off. Due to an error of getting payroll in, and we didn't notice that on the agenda, and we need to approve that at today's meeting. The Brown Act does allow an agency, a board, to put something on the agenda that wasn't previously noticed that requires immediate action. And that's under Government Code 54954.2, subsection B2. But it does require a board vote of the 2/3 of the board members present. So I would like to do that. And this is just to ratify payroll. Catherine or Mr. Reeves will add, I think the board would need to see exactly what's the payroll amount that we are approving just for moving it through consent. But I think by the time that we return back from closed session, that'll be on there. But I would like to take a vote right now just to add a payroll, an item to, I'll just add it to the consent calendar where it typically is. Trustee DeLuna, can I call for a vote or your support for this?
Aye.
Aye. Trustee Goff? Aye. Trustee Iverson? Aye. Trustee Rios? Aye. Trustee Baker? Aye. Trustee Baldini? Aye. And I vote aye as well. So we'll move that to consent. And we will post that as item 10.11. Or I guess that would be 10.10 with the removal of the consent calendar item, the contract with Scion Group. And before we jump into public comment, I did want to acknowledge, the board wants to acknowledge that we have adopted Resolution 2119 last year, recognizing September 15th and October 15th is Latinx Heritage Month. The board encourages all students, staff, faculty, and members of the public to honor the transformative contributions that have been made to our community and the value, the roles, and transformative contributions of Latinx and Hispanic Americans to local, state, national economies, culture, and identity of our society. And at this time, we will move on to general public comment on closed session items, taking 15 minutes. Catherine, do we have any public comment on closed session items?
No, I have not received.
Okay. Then we'll close public comment and the board will move into closed session covering 2 items, a conference with labor negotiators and public employee performance evaluation. Okay. Do you want to let those, maybe we'll do the folks attending virtually first.
Okay. Brian King.
Mr. King, are you there? Mr. King, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much. Can you please say your name for the record?
Yes, sir. Name is Brian King.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. King.
Okay. I just wrote a statement. I'll just read off. So my name is Brian. I work here at the college as a research analyst. I've assumed this role for the last 5 years. In my role, I provide data and data support for college initiatives and planning. My job here is one that works behind the scenes. I spend my days locked to computer crunching data and mostly spent in solitude because my position is not student facing. My job lends itself to self-directed activities where I collect and extract data, write reports, and share data with stakeholders electronically. My job is one that is complemented and benefited by the context of remote work. I've provided data for evaluation to the majority of our college program, over 55 programs, participated in accreditation, supported college initiatives and grants through requests, and provided data to help support student housing and so on. I've networked with various members of the campus, facilitated data meetings, and provided leadership and support to data-related activities. I've done this all while working remotely in San Diego. I have worked for NVC for 5 years, half of which has been remote. And while working remotely, I have networked with more colleagues than I ever did in person. Maybe it's the ease of presenting data virtually than in person. And in fact, I can argue that I've done more for the district remotely than I've ever did in person. And I can confidently argue that my productivity increased in the remote environment and benefited the college as a result. It's safe to point out that jobs like mine are complemented and benefited by remote work. That is why we're seeing many California community colleges adopting remote work policy for jobs such as mine, where solitude work is required without the need for student interaction. For example, districts such as Cabrillo, Butte, Shasta Trinity, Ventura, Solano, Hartnell, including the Chancellor's Office and California Department of Education, have already adopted and implemented a telework policy, either as a pilot or a permanent policy. Many more colleges continue to explore this option. Cabrillo College is arguably one of the top leaders in research and planning. And in fact, their entire research office has been experimenting a remote pilot since 2020 and have reported success in it. They simply employed a task force to monitor the pilot and have advised other colleges about implementing it. Although my job satisfaction and finances benefited while living with family in San Diego, I was asked to move back to Napa to report in person, but this has not been easy for me to say the least. I have lost housing arrangements in the process and felt great sense of optimism at one point to continue remote work, only to find myself disappointed along the way. Today, I'm here in Napa staying in an Airbnb studio rental where I'm paying close to $100 a night because demand for housing is strong, to say the least. I arrived at work to do the same things I've been doing successfully remotely. I have a computer at work, but I still use my laptop. Only now I'm sitting in a small windowless office. My job satisfaction is decreasing, and I have trouble justifying why I'm here putting myself in more financial strain. To sit in the office with the same equipment when I know very well I can be successful remotely and where my job satisfaction could also benefit. So why am I here? I'm here because I like my job. I like and enjoy my job. I'm loyal to my job and work hard for the district. However, with other colleges and businesses adapting to post-pandemic practices, I find it difficult day by day to continue. I asked the district, why are we not exploring the real possibility of continuing remote work for employees whose jobs allow it and can benefit from it? Why does it seem that there's such strong opposition against the potential policy across all classified employees? Why are we not at least piloting or considering a pilot to study and research its benefits to both the college and its employees? The pilot remote policy at Cabrillo was written as an MOU. Why can't we explore this option? The benefits of remote work exist and at times are obvious. I asked the district to explore remote work and identify pros and cons that may mutually benefit both the employer and employee. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. King. Catherine, do we have anyone else?
No, I don't see any.
Okay, then I will call up Mr. Joshua Murillo.
Hello. Hello.
Good evening.
Nice to see everyone again. First thing I want to just say is I hope everybody in our college community has been weathering this heat wave. It's been intense, so hopefully we're all doing all right. Yeah. I'm also going to speak on the same topic that Brian King was speaking, and I wrote a statement as well. Dear Napa Valley College Board of Trustees, my name is Joshua Murillo. I work in the Math Success Center as well as teach physics and astronomy. I am speaking to you once again on the subject of remote work for classified employees, technically referred to as telecommuting. As a fair warning, I intend to regularly bring this issue to your attention, at least until the board gives an explanation as to why they have decided not to move on this topic or provide a reasonable timeline for when movement can be expected. Today, I wish to highlight how the end of telecommuting at the college has been perceived as only applying in the fullest sense to classified employees. A large portion of courses are still fully online. Thus, a large portion or a large amount of faculty are able to work largely or fully remotely. This has always been the case for faculty teaching online courses and makes complete sense because they can perform portions of their work from home. I have also recently been told that an administrator tested positive for COVID-19 and could not come to campus to work at COVID. However, their case seemed to be mild, so they continue to work from home. This also makes complete sense because they can perform portions of their work from home. Both of these constituent groups seem to have some leniency on the topic of telecommuting, either explicitly or implicitly. This is one reason why it is very frustrating to classified employees when we are told that everybody needs to return to campus, no exceptions, and yet we see the exceptions that are made elsewhere. Thank you for your time. Oh, and congratulations to my colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. Murillo. Do we have any other public comment? Seeing none, we will close public comment. And I think I'm going to make a slight adjustment in light of everyone that's in the room with family. If it's okay with the board, I probably wish I would have done that earlier. Catherine, give me any winks if you prefer to do otherwise, but moving actually our public hearing final budget item and switching that with information item 8.1, recognition of faculty. Can I? It's more fun too, right? Yeah, let's do that. That's okay with everybody. Sorry not to give you a heads up on that, Bob. But I did want to call up Mr. Bob Harris to the podium, please.
Good evening, board, Dr. Powell, colleagues, and newly tenured faculty. This is always a wonderful opportunity to extend congratulations to folks who have worked hard and achieved tenure and the term and endeared term of professor. And so congratulations to you now. We're going to do is we're going to have the dean for each who oversees or works with each faculty member come up and say a few words. And we'll begin with Dr. Guerrero. It's not alphabetical. We've changed it up. So Dr. Guerrero with Rachel Cresci in Human Services and District Studies.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And congratulations, colleagues. It's a great feeling to have that title of professor. I know I've been through it myself, and it's quite amazing. So congratulations to all of you. Just to share a couple quick words about Professor Rachel Cresci. I met Dr. Cresci, going on probably about 4 or 5 years ago when she came on to take on some additional work for us in the Human Services and Addiction Studies program. This is somebody who is a licensed clinical social worker, has many years experience in the university, actually at San Jose State University, working especially with graduate students. So doing a lot of work with master level folks, and really was wanting to get back into the community and do the work in the community college. And we got her. So she's been an amazing addition to our area. She is got expertise around trauma-informed approaches to working with clients, trauma impacts on kids, on children and families, and has really helped to grow our areas of especially our addiction studies areas. So in addition to all of that, she's amazing in IT and her abilities to really navigate Canvas. So she was doing that work gosh, years ago, before we all had to jump in and do it, right? And was helping our folks to really learn it well. So she's not here tonight, but I want to offer her congratulations. Hopefully she's listening. And it's been an amazing opportunity to work closely with her. And I look forward to seeing, directions we're going to go in human services and addiction studies. So congratulations, Dr. Kreshe, Professor Kreshe.
Good evening, Chair Dodd, members of the board. I want to take just a moment to comment on the accomplishments of these outstanding faculty, speaking as a formerly tenured professor myself. Tenure is often misunderstood to be a guaranteed job for life, like a Supreme Court justice, for example. But that's not correct. These faculty will continue to be periodically evaluated. They have to continue to perform their professional responsibilities, and we have to have students for them to teach. But tenure is an important layer of due process protection. You might think it isn't needed in subjects like math, where 1 + 1 always equals 2. But events in other states have shown that even math textbooks are not free from political winds of controversy. And in our state, math education is very much on the minds of the legislature. Tenure serves, therefore, as an important shield protecting academic discourse. At Napa Valley College, tenure does not include a promotion or a raise, but by tradition, the recipients have earned the honorific of professor. It is an honor awarded upon recommendation of the faculty, deans, and president, and it is a recognition of accomplishment that says, we hope you will make NVC your professional home for a very long time. Professor Jennifer Aguayo Vasquez, if you could stand, please. Professor Jennifer Aguayo has earned her bachelor's degree from UC Santa Barbara, go Gauchos, and her master's in mathematics from Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo. She started her higher education journey as a student at Napa Valley College. And in her first semester, when she found some challenges with math, she found a kind and caring math professor who took her by the hand to the Math Success Center, where she got the help that she needed. And that professor is Professor Shauna Bynum. What goes around comes around. Jennifer is also was a participant in the Puente program, and she now serves as a Puente mentor. She's active in our HSI grant. She leads the collaboration between math and the Mesa SEM Center, and she heads the algebra faculty community of practice. Congratulations, Professor Aguayo. Professor John Kinchlow is not with us in person. He may be watching on Zoom. He holds the MA from Sonoma State University. He quickly became a leader among the English faculty. He is the chair of our Student Success Standards Committee. That's a mouthful. And of course, student success is central to our work. He's a member of the Academic Senate Executive Board, and for the last 2 years, he has coordinated the Writing Success Center through the rocky shoals of the pandemic. Congratulations, Professor Kinchlow. Dr. Matt Conzer, who is also not here with us in person, earned his MA from California State University, Sacramento, affectionately known as Sac State, Stingers up, where he also earned his doctorate in educational leadership recently. His dissertation was on understanding how federal financial aid is distributed among traditional and non-traditional community college students and how federal aid helps contribute to their success. Upon joining Napa Valley College, he also quickly rose to faculty leadership. He was the coordinator for AB 705 implementation for English, leading the English faculty learning community through that very significant challenge. Congratulations, Dr. Kronzer. Professor Carrie Ruffley, Carrie, has been with the college for many years. I'm not allowed to say how many. But she joined the faculty ranks in 2018. Previously, she taught as an adjunct in computer applications, worked in the Office of Academic Affairs, was project manager, Career Pathways Grant, served as an SBDC advisor, and helped author the 2009 accreditation report. So it's been at least that long. During this time, she also earned the MS in geology from Cal State University East Bay. Professor Ruffley is the first tenured woman in the NVC geology department. And on a personal note, my daughter is completing her master's in geology at Sac State, thanks in part to Carrie serving as a mentor and a role model. Thank you so much for all that you do. Professor Emory Stafford here with his lovely family. Happens to be another gaucho. He earned his bachelor's also at UC Santa Barbara. He holds a master's in mathematics from California State University, Channel Islands. Emory has led the math faculty community of practice, serves on the Guided Pathways Steering Committee, and is involved in revitalizing our computer science program. He currently teaches not only math, but also computer science this semester. He is very highly regarded by his students and peers, and a pleasure to work with. Congratulations, Professor Stafford. Not on my list, but because I know him well. Professor Seth Anderson is Dr. Seth Anderson in history, is a Napa Valley native. His father was a faculty member at that school, Up Valley Pacific Union. Thank you, Pacific Union College. And so he was able to return home, and I served as the chair of the hiring committee that brought him here. He is a joy to work with. He currently is serving as the faculty co-chair of our curriculum committee, serves on the Academic Senate Executive Board. He wrote a brilliant, absolutely fabulous guide for the curriculum committee's procedures that would be a model for any governance body on campus. He is an exceptional leader, a great academician, and I've had the pleasure of seeing him in the classroom where he does a fabulous job. If anybody wants to take a world history class, come see Dr. Seth Anderson. And next would be Professor Carrie Powell, and I will turn over to Doug Marriott.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to get to recognize soon-to-be Professor Carrie Powell. I love working with your department. I love what Child Family Studies and Education and Career Education does for the community and for the students that you get to serve. I, like Bob, was a tenured faculty member. In a job interview for this job, I said faculty are the lifeblood of the institution, which I believe, and I think it's our role to support them as administrators, and particularly when they exhibit the teamwork that I see with you, Carrie. So thank you. She started her time at Napa Valley College in 2011 as an adjunct instructor. She's been teaching for 20 years from preschool to college, so the whole pipeline. She enjoys investing in the lives of those who will work with children and the future, which is our future. So congratulations, Carrie Powell.
And what some people may not know is her husband was part of a team that led us in a board retreat a month ago or so. So he was wonderful, Carrie. So. Okay. Well, so all right. So Professor Terry Wagner, he's obviously newly tenured. He worked for many years in the private sector. I've had the honor of serving on multiple hiring committee or search committees, I should say, with Terry. Very thoughtful, analytical in business and computer studies. one of my favorite stories was he was helping on the respiratory care committee, and he's a business and technical accounting type person, and they were talking about doing things with tubes and bodies, and his eyes were getting big. So it was wonderful to serve. It was wonderful to serve on that committee with him, and very hearty congratulations to Terry.
I would just second that. It's a pleasure to get to work with Terry and his department in Claudette Chateau. And I thought he was already tenured, but I'm happy that it's official now. Thanks.
Thank you, Doug. And the final honorees or recipient tonight is Giselle Robinson-Piga. She joined us, the campus, 5 years ago as a full-time leave replacement in psychiatric technician at a time when we really needed somebody. And Professor, most of you know, Robert Millay, reached out and got Giselle to come to the campus. She is in the psych tech role. I think most of you know it's a challenging program, and they go to interesting places. But Giselle is one who's never short for words when she comes into my office. She's fun to talk to. Has some nicknames that I won't share here, but she's fun. The students know her as a powerful advocate for mental health patients, and a powerful advocate for the profession of psychiatric technician, and a powerful advocate for them in the role. So it's a shame she's not here tonight, but my hearty congratulations to Giselle on earning tenure. It's been fabulous for the 5 years that I've known her. And on behalf, go ahead. So on behalf of everyone in academic affairs, on behalf of the entire college campus, it's an honor and a privilege to recognize these 10 outstanding people for their role and what they do for the campus in their role as faculty. So thank you very much for what you've done, what you continue to do, what you will do, and congratulations on earning tenure.
Thank you, Mr. Marriott. Thank you, Mr. Harris. Thank you, Mr. Vanderbilt. Pretty special opportunity to do that. It was, I think we only did that my first year as trustee, so it's been a while, and that's pretty wonderful. By the way, before you guys leave, we're just talking with a few of my colleagues, and the Board of Trustees would like to start a new tradition and taking out our new faculty, tenured faculty members out for lunch. And I didn't talk with everybody about that, but yeah. But I do have a majority on that, though. So I just want to let you know that. So we'll look for an email, and maybe Dr. Tejada, we can talk about maybe reaching out and finding a good date real soon. Yeah. I think it's after. We'll see where we're going. Yeah, cool idea. That's a good idea. Can you remind me? I need to remind myself about that. Thank you guys for being here. So we will move to 7.1, which is now 8.1. Catherine, I'm really sorry to mess up our agenda. And Mr. Reeves, I will call on you to provide an overview of our final budget. And this Thank you. Sorry, just to interrupt. And this is a public hearing, so I will take an opportunity for public comment. I'd love to get through the presentation first, so any public commenters that might be here can be more informed.
Thank you, Trustee Dodd. I would agree with the board that there are a few things more fun than the budget, so I can appreciate the change in agenda. We would like to present to you the proposed 22-23 fiscal year budget. And as soon as, Catherine, you can spin that because I can't read sideways. Okay. Upper left hand, little circle. Is that it?
Let's refresh. That's not.
That's refresh.
Let's refresh. Right click here. Can you right click on the bar on top?
Here.
No. Right here.
We'll take a minute. It's if you okay. Sorry, Catherine, to put the pressure on you. No, there's no pressure at all. We'll just take some time. I'm gonna grab some water. Oh, can you not do it there? Yeah, why don't we'll just take a 2-minute break if that's okay with everybody.
There, we found it. You did it? Yeah. Oh, perfect.
Higher.
That's right. Perfect.
Who did that? We need them on our IT staff.
Yeah.
We lost a trustee in the mix, but
He ran.
yeah, he'll be back. Mr. Reeves, you want to just get us started?
Certainly. Let me start by thanking several groups of folks and individuals on campus who were instrumental and integral in putting this together. The Planning and Budget Committee, all members, including co-chair Maria Bidenbach and Robin Warnell. Also, Wendy Nacho, our acting controller, Imelda Basco in our payroll area, Solange Kata, David Prince, and of course, Doug Roberts, who most of you know, was instrumental in pulling this all together. So my big thanks to him. Let me take you through a PowerPoint presentation as a summary of how we got to where we are today and some of the assumptions we've used to develop this budget. Can we move to the next slide, Catherine? This is the final budget is required by the California Education Code. The final budget is prepared for the Board of Trustees review and approval not later than September 15th of each year. The adoption of the final budget provides statutory authorization to continue the financial and operational commitments necessary to advance the mission of the institution. The final budget is prepared through a deliberative process with contributions from budget operating units, area councils, the Planning and Budget Committee, and the President's Cabinet. Source documents for this work include AP 6200, the Budget Development Memorandum, and the Budget Values and Assumptions document. I will offer that this budget, certainly in the tentative stage, was developed in a rather compressed time frame, and the final budget has its challenges relative to the availability of data, which I'll mention in just a moment. We are presenting this budget utilizing the best information available and is subject to change as additional information becomes available. And should there be material changes, we would bring to you for your consideration a revised budget. The final budget is based primarily upon projections of revenues and expenditures, except where county or state funding has been confirmed. Salaries and benefits projections are based upon payroll information available from the July 22 payroll. Other expenditures are based upon 2 or 3 year cost projections of costs, plus in most cases, an 8% increase for the cost of living, and a bigger number than we projected in the tentative budget. The 22-23 final budget is presented with an acknowledgement that the technical issues related to the college's enterprise operating systems has made the collection and evaluation of financial data particularly challenging and subject to revision should material changes become apparent. Staff will keep the college and the Board of Trustees apprised of any changes in the budget and related documents, including the annual audit, if and when material changes are required to the final budget. So I think we are very close to a final close in our budget. I think we are, in fact, days away. But as we look at this, I'll speak to you about a pre-close number. It's very close to our final numbers and has a high level of reliability, but it's not closed yet. Our planning assumptions, next slide, Catherine. Our planning assumptions for this year, enrollments, we're looking for 22-23 anticipated enrollments of 3452 based on the P2 estimate last year. This projection was developed in the spring. I would offer that it's going to be a little lower than that based on what we're seeing in the fall thus far, but we'll have more enrollment information moving forward. Our revenues, realized and anticipated material changes in our revenues, certainly from the tentative budget. We saw an initial local property tax. It's not initial, it's a final local property tax increase of 7.06%. That was somewhat more than we had projected as an assumption. We have additional revenues realized from the lease of the portion of the Upper Valley campus, and we have Fund 12 increases to categorical programs, and those are listed separately. Next slide, please. Our employee associated salary and benefits costs, faculty salary increases are at 9% per the collective bargaining agreement, with a tax increase of 6.5% to 7.5%. We originally projected, I believe, a 5% in the tentative budget. So that's a significant change based on the CBA and the property tax revenue. Permanent classified salary increases at 4% for the CBA, administrator confidential at 4%. And you can see increases in PERS and STIRS dictated by the state increase there as well. Step and column adjustments are included, and out of class pay is also included in this budget. Changes in costs. Next slide, please. We had 18 participants in the SERP, anticipated annual SERP savings of about $450,000 net of the costs of the annuity and administration costs associated with the SERP. We have some changes in section offerings, and these are yet to be confirmed, but were projected. You can see in the 22-23, we had 890 sections, down from 21-22, and certainly down from 20-21. The approximate savings due to reduced course offerings is about $442,000 reflected in this budget as compared to last year's budget. We have some changes in faculty reassigned time and reduction, resulting in a reduction of Fund 11 of $290,000. The next slide is our 6 strategic goals. And as we always want to do and emphasize, is link our planning to our budget. And the college has determined, considered these 6 strategic goals for the period of 2018 to 23. And while I won't read every word here, you'll note that we've aligned our budget initiatives in the next tables to these 6 strategic goals. Next slide, please. So our priorities moving into this year were student equity, support, and success. We are committing through categorical funding about $2.282 million, up about 5% from last year. Investments in technology, we've increased by about $500,000, if not a bit more, from the tentative budget. We have committed $800,000 in HERF-3 funds. Those are COVID recovery funds, federal funds, up from about $500,000 in the tentative budget. $350,000 from the student technology fee will be used to advance Wi-Fi services across the campus. And we have an additional $350,000 committed to instructional equipment, classroom, student-facing, faculty-facing equipment of about for a total of about $1,500,000. And that's strategic goal 1 and 3. I will share with you that equipment is focused on teaching and learning. So it's student facing, faculty facing. What it doesn't include are some of the investments necessary in our enterprise to support our enterprise systems in terms of reliability and security. That assessment is ongoing. We've already made some investments, but we have a little ways to go as all of us have experienced relative to our technology reliability here. Student outreach and marketing, we've committed $60,000 in our Fund 11 and $244,000 in Fund 12, categorical funds from the state to advance outreach to students to re-engage our local service area. We have in the past have liabilities which we have not funded. I don't know how to characterize that other than we kind of hope they would go away, but we need to address those up front. We have student bad debt. Every institution has student bad debt. You make a commitment on the revenue side about how much revenue you'll receive from student tuition and fees. And in many cases, students, for whatever reason, can't pay, but we need to have a balancing entry on our budget and have an expense for that. So that's what you'll see there in terms of managing some of our unfunded liabilities. We have a projected increase in our fund balance as a result of this budget of about $455,000. And I'll show that to you in real numbers here in just a moment. Next slide, please. We have some other operational initiatives that are the result of some of the FCMAT recommendations and some of the initiatives we need to look at moving forward. We have an initiative of $50,000 primarily in consulting support to implement the Ellucian software for budget development. We have $50,000 again in consulting to implement position control software. We haven't nailed down in a firm way what that software looks like, but we have made a commitment to move that initiative forward this year. We have a compensation study in advance of negotiations for collective bargaining, and we have a new position, a senior budget manager position that will come out of business and finance to better support the institution, budget managers, reporting, projections, and board reports. Next slide, please. Some notes to Fund 11. You know, Fund 11 is the unrestricted general fund. Those are the funds by which the institution has the most latitude for their use. They are not totally unrestricted because they are taxpayer funds. So they have some broad restrictions for use for instruction and instructional support, but we consider those technically unrestricted for use by the institution. I want to look at number one, particularly because that certainly is an issue that's been raised, not only by our colleagues on campus in terms of staffing studies, but in terms of the FCMAT and some of the ACC-JC recommendations. In light of the fact that we don't have software in place for position control, we've taken a position on campus that all positions, all replacement positions considered necessary for continued operations will be considered by the President's Cabinet on a case-by-case basis. Positions authorized for recruitment will be initially posted internally with an opportunity to look at transferring existing positions into open positions where qualifications are met, and that the President has ultimate authority to sign whether we recruit a position or not. The President's Cabinet will strive to achieve a no net change to the operating budget as part of these considerations. So what we will be doing and what you, the board, may ask us to do is what are the implications for the existing budget for any additional positions that are recruited and filled. The second note, HER3 funds utilized for technology improvements will follow technology plans in place. Again, what's in the budget today are student and faculty facing equipment. Number three, the increase in the fund balance is a projection. I just want to be careful that we should not buy a mortgage with that quite yet, but those are projections. The district currently, number four, owns the budget development module for the Ellucian colleagues, so we don't have additional costs to purchase that. but we need some consulting to help us implement it. Position control has been cited by FICMAT. I won't repeat too much there because I think you've heard that. We need to move forward with that initiative as quickly as possible. And the budget control position I just mentioned, we've added that as a new position to the budget. Next slide, please. These are Fund 12 notes. Fund 12 are the restricted funds. They're largely categorical. Categorical meaning that they have very defined population services or time restraints or outcome restraints conditions. So our SEA funds, student equity and access and or achievement funds, are focused on student support and services to achieve those student equity and access goals. We have several of those. They're reflected in the Fund 12 budget, and I'll show you that schedule in just a moment. Okay. Shall we roll forward, Catherine? Let's move right to the really exciting stuff, the numbers. I'll leave many of the preface information in the formal budget presentation that will be available to the public and be shared with County Office of Education and the Chancellor's Office is much of what I've just referenced. But we'll move to the Fund 11 budget. So you'll need to scroll down there to the numbers, Catherine. Very good. Thank you. Let me orient you to the schedule. It looks very similar to the monthly budget report. It has a few changes in it. So let me just orient you briefly. The far left column is the description of the revenues and expenses. So the top section are the revenues, as you can see. And then total revenues is the next subsection. And then down there are all expenses until we get to the bottom. When you look at the next column over to the right, these are the audited 1920 numbers. These are important numbers because they become part of a trend line that we can look at over time. We've also added the 2021 audited numbers. And audited numbers are the ones that we plan on looking forward and determine where our expenditures were going and whether we're realizing the college's mission based on those budgets. The board approved adjusted budget is the next column to the right. You approved an adjusted budget, I think last November or December, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a baseline where we started the most recent year, not the current year, but the most recent year, last year. The next column to the right is entitled pre-close as of 8/20/22. That's the column I referenced where at this date in most years, we would be hard closed. We would know exactly what all these numbers look like. Today, we are very close. The variance on most of these numbers will be very minor, but it'd be, I wouldn't want to misrepresent the fact that this isn't a hard close number. It's a very reliable one, but not a hard close. The next column to the right is the final budget variance, the variance. The variance is what's the difference between two columns. So that column, the second one from the right, is the difference between what our pre-close number is and what our, and what our current budget is and what our pre-close budget is. So if you look at the pre-close on the very top federal income line, we received revenue of $17,952, and our final budget is $25,134 for a difference of $7,182 to the positive. Parents on this schedule means that less, and whole numbers without parents is a plus. So you can see at the final budget, you can see how we're projecting what the difference is between how we were pretty close to finish last year and what our new budget for next year looks like. So on the revenue side, you'll see that our state income has dropped by about $83,000. That's largely associated with some state income we receive based on enrollments. And because our enrollments have been in decline, those enrollment-based numbers have declined as well. That's not a great sign, but that's a signal across the state, and most institutions are seeing some reduced numbers there. The next number is property taxes. This is where the increase in property taxes occurred and reflected in our budget. So we saw a property tax increase of $1,439,655 to the positive. And for a budget, a final budget, as you can see, of $39.8 million. Other local income of $101,000 and other financing sources dropped a little bit by $63,000. Total revenues increased from our last year's budget of about $1,400,000. So that's what we expect to receive in revenues. Revenues are pretty firm. We'll see some variations there, but they're pretty firm. This is how we plan to spend the money, or we anticipate spending the money. You'll look to expenditures as the next horizontal column down. First area is salaries. You can see that while we don't have quite as many faculty as we did last year, there is an increase of 9%, and you can see it reflected in the increased costs of faculty salaries for permanent. We have faculty salaries temporary, $491. You recall that you saw we reduced class offerings that primarily results in reduced adjunct faculty loads, and you can see how that's reflected there. Academic academic permanent, $214,000. A little bit of that is because we have a few folks that took the CERP, as well as down below, and you'll see that realized there. Classified salaries permanent, you'll see there is a 4% increase in salaries there, so you'll see a bump there. And temporary salaries are reduced at this point by $315,000 for a total salaries of an increased cost of $270,000. You'll see on that horizontal line that says total salaries. Employee benefits, I won't go into every line here, but you'll see because of due to salary increases and employment related costs that are attached to salaries, we're looking at about a $733,000 increase in the cost of employee benefits. We're in books and supplies, yes. So books and supplies, a modest number, but an increase of $10,700. And other operating expenses, you can see that we have reduced some of them. I would offer to you that there is still an opportunity to take a closer look at some of these, because the methodology we used was to use, remember in that PowerPoint, we indicated our methodology was to look at either 2 or 3 years average expenditures, add 8% as an increase in costs for cost of living, and it doesn't look at those areas where there might be one-time costs that haven't been pulled out. So we have a little work to do there. And then in capital outlay, you'll see that we have an $855,000 budget and a slight increase of $63,370. We had some reclassification that went here. I won't spend a lot of time on the accounting detail, but we were able to move some of our what we call maintenance and repair costs to capital outlay in an effort to reclassify those appropriately, and it's a positive effect on our 50% law. Our other outgo and interfund transfers, you'll see a slight increase of $208,000. That's simply the result of creating a new account so we can monitor, in this case, our print shop to more clearly understand what our activity is there. And then our OPEBs are up by 398, 434. Our OPEBs, our other personnel employee benefits. And we had an increase of $398,000 there. The increase is largely due to the costs of the SERP annuity and those administration costs. Also in there, in the $1.4 million is about $1.2 million in the costs of medical benefits for post-employment. So I can take you to the last page. So we have an increase, a projected increase of fund balance so the pre-close, I'll take you there, an increase in the fund balance of about 455 that we're anticipating, and then an increase in the fund balance in the projected budget of $386,000. So at the end of this year, we think our fund balance will jump up to about 8.77%, and our final budget, if it plays as it's written, could jump up to just under 10%, 9.32%. So we're progressing in the right direction. The Chancellor's Office would like to see us have 2 months of expenses. That 2 months would have to be pushing us up into 15, 16, 17%. ACCJC has said 5%, but I think most folks are saying that's a floor, and probably not even a good floor anymore. If you want more information, I would just ask you to look at the footnotes here about our assumptions and some detail in the numbers. I won't spend a lot of time in the footnotes, but if you're a budget wonk, you will want to study those. Let's go to Fund 12. Fund 12 is the unrestricted general fund. Again, these are where our categorical and grant funds are recorded. And you can see our sources of fundings for categorical and grant are the same layout as the Fund 11. So you can see where our revenues come from and how our expenses are laid out. I would offer that these are numbers that are not easily quantified in a large picture because they move in different directions based on the demands of a particular program. What we want to look at is that we're close to balance at the end of the year. Our revenues are balanced with our expenditures. In this report, it appears that we have more money available. The parentheses number under increases the goldenrod number. You'll see right there, Catherine, 2 up, 3 up, right, 1 down. You'll see that number 2.586. That's money that has been unallocated or unused. I think it's mostly unallocated. The distinction between Fund 12 is the agencies have given us money for a particular purpose. And if you don't use it, you have to send it back. So it turns into a liability. I don't have any fears of that, but at this schedule, we were still working on some reclasses. Today's report said they had it down to about $35,000. So I think there's some hope we'll be in good shape there. But we want to be balanced at the end of the year. We want to be spending the money for the intention of the donor or the grant agency, and come out even. There are many funds here that are collected under this summary. So if you'd like to look at those in detail, I'd be happy to share those with you. I'm going to look to the next fund. These are funds that the board reviews and approves. Our Fund 41 are capital outlay projects. These are projects that are funded or capitalized each year. Some of the revenue here, you'll see on the far final column, 6 million, 57,155. 6 million is the state grant this year for scheduled maintenance and instructional equipment. And so you'll see that as the big revenue number there. This also includes our investments in the student housing program that we anticipate getting most, hopefully all of it back returned to us as an investment and returned to us by the project fund. So capitalized expenses are reflected here. Going to move on to the Post-Retirement Benefits Fund, Fund 69. This is a summary of the funds that we have invested in and our OPEBs in Fund 69. And I would ask you to read the footnotes if you want to spend some time with that. On the next schedule, the California Employees Retirement Benefit Fund, we make payments to this every year. It allows the fund to be invested in the markets and earn. And so it leaves the college. We do have the right to pull it back, and we have done that in the past, including the most recent year, for cash flow purposes. So it doesn't change how the funds will be eventually used. The downside is it may not be earning money in the market. Now, the market these days is not predictable, so I'm not sure we're losing a lot, but that's the downside. The downside is an advantage to us because we don't have to pay for a tran to fund operations over that bridge time when we're waiting for property taxes to arrive. The next schedule is the combined GEO-bond debt schedule. This doesn't have much of an impact on our operations, but it is part of our presentation to the board and to our auditors each year. The following schedule is the Associated Student Body Fund. This is in a holding place as the associated students are either close to finishing or in the midst of looking at their budget for this year. And then we have two more schedules, I think. The Associated Student Body Fund, let's see. And the Student Representation Fund is students pay fees to allow students to represent their interests at a variety of locations, including the Capitol. And this is the reconciliation of those funds. That would conclude my very quick synopsis of Fund 11 and Fund 12 and the proposed final budget to the Board of Trustees.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reeves. And I did want to give an opportunity to Trustee Rios to make any comments from the Audit and Finance Committee in their meeting that occurred this past Tuesday.
Thank you. So not a lot to say. We met with Mr. Reeves for over an hour and actually went into a lot of detail on some of the summaries he gave us here. So there's really nothing for me to add. He's done a wonderful job of summarizing it, although I know it was a lot of information. But the committee did take a vote to recommend to the board to adopt the budget as it's been presented.
Catherine, do we have any public comment? Any questions from trustees?
I'll move for approval on budget.
Aldani, second.
Okay, well, we have a motion and a second, but we have looking at Trustee Baker for any comments or questions.
I just wanted to, one of these things actually brought up on Tuesday, and now I'm kind of looking at it again. The $100,000 that's in there for the budget control position is the reason why that, because I had asked about, that seemed like a really low number, but I'm just wondering, is that because it's prorated?
Well, it will be prorated because it's now September and this is a whole budget year. The decision we had not made yet was whether this would be a classified position or an administrative position. If we're a classified position, we're close, but we need to look at it again, even at a classified level. So we will certainly, when we get to that point, we'll certainly advise the board what the impact would be.
And the other question I had on page 14, the capital outlay number. By the way, I'm just so happy to see that we are looking at actuals versus, what we're looking at next year. I think that's the way we should be doing it. But I had a question about, the jump on capital outlay from the approved budget from last year, the one we just closed, to what we are actuals, and why the big jump there, because there's not a huge jump from close of this year for what we're budgeting next year, but there is a significant jump from what was approved for last year and what we're at pre-close.
Good catch. That's the reclassification of the Ellucian operating system, just about $500,000 from the maintenance line up above to the capital outlay. And that is an accounting strategy, an appropriate one to move those expenses out of institutional support, and helps us on the 50% law. Just now that I mentioned the 50% law, we are finishing those calculations, and we'll have some sense of how we finish this year, and we'll anticipate how we'll look next year. But I don't anticipate that we'll hit the 50% mark this year.
Trustee Rios, I saw you click your button on now.
No, I was just ready to vote.
Okay, fair enough. I did want to make a few comments. I just, Mr. Reeves, I really supportive of this budget, the process that it went through. I think it really shows, I think the board's comments about, fiscal responsibility, the need to operate within our means, using conservative budget assumptions, appropriate budget assumptions, which Trustee Baker just mentioned too, implementing position control, just those thoughtful recommendations that we got from FCMAT to, really reduce unnecessary spending and building up our budget reserves. So I really appreciate that. And I also, in addition to that, what I was really happy to see as part of the budget is we're making critical investments in technology to support our students. And I don't recall in these level of budget discussions in previous years seeing that level of commitment. And I just think that's incredibly important after so much time not making those investments. Yeah, thank you for that. So I just wanted to relay my support. I also, too, wanted to give a shout out to say that the board is, really proud of this budget, or I'm really proud of this budget, which I think is true on behalf of the board. But, I think thank you for all your work doing it. I also wanted to individually name our planning and budget members and chairs, you being one of them, of course. For all the work that they've done. I'm sitting in on some of those meetings, not all of them, public forums and so on, everybody monitoring. I know that takes a lot of time outside of just the committee meetings itself to prepare and provide, thoughtful dialogue and also gather input from other colleagues who might not be on the committee. So Maria Bidenbach, our faculty co-chair, along with you, Amanda Badgett, Karen Canepa, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Nicole Carrier, Diane Shabodi, Michael Gianvecchio, Alex Guerrero, Bob Harris, Christy Kling, John Martinez, Angie Moore, Forrest Quinlan, Catherine Rhino, Christine Tapia, Bob Vanderveld, and Lauren Wisniewski. Thank you very much. It's really appreciate all the hard work on this effort. And so with that, I will call for a vote. All trustees in favor? Say aye. I as well. Any opposed? The board adopts this budget unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
So moving on to item 9.1, structures for mission, vision, and value statements. Dr. Powell.
Thank you. Thank you, President. Hello? Oh, there it is. All right. So you'll recall at the last board meeting, we presented this item, the structure for mission, vision, and value statements, just for initial thoughts and reflections from board members relative to our update, the process of updating our mission, vision, and values prior to us entering and engaging in that process. The overall call was if there were general thoughts and feedback concerning what the structure of those should be, preferences or things from your position that you had interest in relative to brevity. We presented a few examples, which I believe are up, if you wouldn't mind bringing that up, Catherine. Just a few examples from other colleges around the state in terms of how they structured theirs. Some common themes that we saw, generally speaking, are more brevity, the interest being in these institutions that the mission and vision and the values are things that people could easily remember, recite back. Those were actually, we did receive one comment from a board, a trustee member kind of consolidating or verifying that same interest overall of brevity, the interest in making sure that our campus constituents, that the community could actually remember what our mission statement was. And it was something that kind of got to the point. So if there are additional thoughts, feedback, comment that you have that you would like to share with me, just in terms of general interest before we engage in the actual college process to help us inform what our revised mission, values, and vision would look like, please forward those to me, and I will be sure to pass those along to the work groups that are engaging in this process.
Thank you, Dr. Powell. Do we have any public comment, Catherine, on this item? Any comments, directions from trustees?
I just have like one very brief comment. The only one that I really just thought was kind of, the Skyline one, I thought was their mission statement was a little too global. He's like, oh, we're gonna solve every problem in the world. So make it a little bit more focused. I like Santa Rosa's.
I was just going to comment, and I know I meant to respond to the email. I'm not sure that I did, but my comment was that I actually liked Santa Rosa. I liked the brief statements and the bullet points. I think Santa Rosa and the one after that were fairly similar. And that's kind of what my preference would be. I agree that if these things are too long, most people aren't going to read them, so they don't do you a lot of good. So if we can remember them, it's easier to practice those things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Powell. We will move on to information item 9.2, college update for accreditation. Dr. Warnall.
Good evening, board. I am here to present the college update for accreditation, and so I'm going to provide some context for this update. Catherine, if you could please scroll to the next slide. So I thought I would review where we've been and identify where we're going. So this is the graphic on the left is from the ACCJC, and I've imposed the dates that apply to NVC's comprehensive review there on the right. So the team met and reviewed our ICER back on February 24th. That resulted in the core inquiries, which they sent to us on March 15th. We have our focus site visit is scheduled for October 10th through 12th. If you don't already have that marked on your calendar, please do so. Let's see, then between October and November, the team will draft its report. We will be given a chance to correct any errors of fact by viewing a draft report that will be sent to Dr. Powell. And then the team will complete their report, presumably in November. And then based on the team's report, the commission will take action on NVC based on our summative review at their meeting in January of 2023. And that's been scheduled for the 11th through the 13th. So a big step in the process is not included in the graphic, and that's why I put the little star that says we are here. So we're quickly approaching October, and I'm going to talk about that a little more with you tonight. I did realize today that the team will have come and gone by the time you convene for your next regular meeting. So that was kind of a eye-opening moment for me. So the core inquiries document identified areas of focus and areas that the team will want to be exploring with us during their focused site visit. And so I'm going to cover that intervening step in more detail here. So if we could go to the next slide. So the college update. So we submitted to the ACCJC prior to the team's visit, and the ACCJC will distribute it among all of our team members. So what the college update is intended to do is provide a summary of what has occurred at NVC pertaining to each core inquiry. Basically, that work would have been occurring between March and October, roughly. So, and we do have 6 core inquiries, if you didn't recall that. So the ACCJC provides a template for the college update. We're asked to, and this is a quote from the template, briefly describe any institutional improvements, strengthening of processes, documented outcomes, discussions, or reflections which have occurred pertaining to core inquiry, and then it has the number. So that's what we're asked to do, is provide that brief description. It is limited to 300 words, which is not a lot. So then as for the ICER, we're expected to provide evidence for the summary and the brief description that we provide in the update. As always, the evidence should be the highest order of evidence that we have available. And in some cases, that might be a conversation, a documentation of a conversation. So not all of the core inquiries will be addressed in the same way. Then we're also provide an opportunity to provide any additional context for what we've done on the core inquiry. And again, that's limited to 300 words. One of some of the additional context that you might have noticed comes up somewhat regularly in the draft of the report is the technology issue and the challenges that we faced since June. Also, I'd say administrative turnover is a big theme across them. Okay, so the college update is intended to help the team prepare for the focused site visit. And so you might imagine that we might have been kind of out of sight, out of mind since March when they sent us the core inquiries. And so this is to help them get their head in the game, remember, refresh their memory and get prepared for the site visit in October. I would offer that I really view the college update as we're in dialogue with the team. So they might have already drafted some of the questions based on our ICER that they would expect to cover with us during their interviews. And this gives them an opportunity to update their expectations of how those interviews will go. So as an example, for administrative evaluations for confidential and administrative staff, at the time of our ICER, there were 33% of AC evaluations had not been completed according to schedule. As of the time that we posted the update for your review, that number was down to 8%. And as of updated documentation I received from HR yesterday, it is now at 6%. So we're moving in the right direction, certainly. So they might say, okay, we don't need to worry about that. We don't need to do a deeper dive on that piece when they get here. Then the team would update their questions accordingly and instead focus their time on other questions in that example. The college update is not the final word. It's just an update. That's what they call it. And there's a reason for that. So it's a very focused exercise, limited to 300 words, as I mentioned in the description. And we're really encouraged, just like in the ICER, to let the evidence speak. So the evidence is the big part of this. We do not need to cover each bullet point that is included in the core inquiries document. I have joked with both Dr. Catherine Webb of the ACCJC and others here on campus that I think particularly core inquiries 5 and 6 are more than 300 words in and of themselves. Therefore, it's impossible, I think, to address them in 300 words or less. But we're not necessarily expected to cover each bullet. We're, again, supposed to focus on what has changed as a result of the core inquiry or in connection to it. The draft, as of earlier this week, is attached to this agenda item, and I just want to acknowledge that it's likely to change, again, based on activities that we engage in and updated evidence between now and the submission. Next slide, please. Okay, so here we've listed some upcoming activities, including for next week. Next week on Wednesday, Dr. Powell and I and Bethany Crevea, my assistant, will be meeting with the team chair, vice chair, and Dr. Catherine Webb for the pre-visit meeting. That really covers logistics, things like, maps for getting from the hotel to here. We will have a draft schedule available for them and for the team chair and vice chair to review and give us feedback on if they want more, say, swing time between the interviews, if they identify what times they want to meet as a team, and then we should not be scheduling any interviews at that time, things of that nature. On September 15th, we will be convening the Accreditation Steering Committee. Then the week of September 19th, I will be working with Dr. Powell to submit the college update to the ACCJC. It's due sometime that week. I think it's no later than the 26th or 27th. And so then my office, once we have that pre-visit meeting next week, we will start scheduling the individual and group interviews with members of the campus community. I anticipate that happening the week of September 19th through roughly October 3rd, however long it takes. So we will be contacting members of the campus community, including Dr. Powell's office. So we'll work with you all to identify a time for some board members to meet with the team or individuals on the team. So site visit is October 10th through 12th. The team will be arriving in town on Sunday, October 9th. We anticipate that the schedule will include an open forum with the team, and that will be scheduled for the 10th or 11th. And then the exit report will occur on Wednesday, the 12th. We anticipate that being in the early afternoon. It will be held in the PAC lobby, so mark your calendars for that. So I mentioned that the update is not the final word. And so again, it's an update, and then the team will explore further the issues that they've identified in the core inquiries document during their visit. So the graphic at the bottom of this slide is meant to show that the core inquiries represented the deliverable and the snapshot as of the formative review back in February when the team reviewed our ICER. And the focus site visit is where the summative review occurs. And so the team, that's when the team, as I said, in October, November, they'll be drafting their final report. And so it's the team report that the commission will base its action on NVC on. So the snapshot in October is the driving force there. So one thing that I anticipate us doing, and again, I'll be working with Dr. Powell on this, is that between September and then when the team arrives in October, it would behoove us to have developed some timelines for completing work that is not completed as of the snapshot that will be sent around the middle of this month. So we'll have that available in the team room for the cases that applies to. So this is an information item for you all tonight to increase your awareness about what's going on and that we're on the case. And it's also an opportunity to collect any feedback you have. Again, this isn't the final opportunity for that. I would encourage you to convey additional information or feedback that you might have to Trustee DeLuna as part of the Accreditation Steering Committee. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Warnell. Are there any questions? Comments? Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Warnell.
Thank you.
I guess I have one question. So you mentioned board trustees might be needed for interviews. Okay.
Yeah, core inquiry 6 indicates some board members should be available to meet with the team about core inquiry 6. Because that does cover what's considered to be the board standard, right? 4C.
Right.
And core inquiry 6 covers all 3 aspects of standard 4.
Great. And that would occur before the site visit on October 10th through 12th.
It will occur. They want the interviews to be, or they want their visit to be heavy on interviews throughout the day on Monday and then through Tuesday morning. So once after we meet with the team chair and vice chair next week, we'll have an idea of when the board, the group, I assume it will be a group interview, will occur and who's available for that.
Yes, Trustee Baker.
Just confirm. So on the timeline, September 19th to October 3rd, schedule interviews. Does that mean that's when you are scheduling the interviews, but the interviews will actually take place on the 10th and the 11th?
Yes. So you'll be contacted. Probably the board members will be contacted by Dr. Powell's office, and then I will be handling all of the other interviews. My office will be for all of the other members of the campus community.
Trustee Baldini.
Just a question coming to mind. Is there a social or time to
No interviews for Trustee Baldini, just so.
No, I did ask this, so no. I did ask about it, because, the idea is that this is a continuation of a visit that already began back virtually in February. So I did ask about, because in the past we've had a meet the team and, pastries in the community room or whatever kind of thing. No, but we're not doing that this time. I've asked Dr. Catherine Webb about it, and what we are going to do, the team wants to start out with a tour of the campus, which is standard practice as part of the site visit, and we will have an opportunity for the team to meet Dr. Powell, who is not available or not part of the campus community officially as of February. So he'll meet them on the plaza right before their tour, but no social events. Sorry.
Baker?
Just to confirm the need for availability. So October 10th and 11th, do we also need to be available on the 12th?
So the 12th, I would encourage whoever is available to attend the exit interview, the exit report. And we anticipate that being early afternoon of Wednesday, the 12th. Again, I'll be communicating to the campus community as these details get ironed out.
We can let them know that they're missing out on some very good pastries.
Emily.
Thank you, Dr. Wano. Information item 9.3, update on integrated institutional planning. Dr. Powell?
That's Dr. Wano also.
Oh, this is Dr. Wano.
Yeah, that's why I didn't move. So, yeah, still me.
Good work.
Okay, so at your meeting in June, the president's report included an integrated planning schedule outlining the sequence of review of institutional plans beginning this year through our next comprehensive accreditation review. And the draft of the schedule that was shared in June originally indicated that we would review and update the mission along with the majority of our institutional plans this year, so meaning 2022, 2023. And that we would adopt a streamlined approach by having developing some shorter plans now and then followed by larger plans on a sequenced year by year basis. So when Dr. Powell arrived, he asked me to provide a graphic representation of MVC's system of integrated planning, and that's what you see here. So, and it was attached to the agenda item, and I'm just going to walk through it a little bit. So the guiding institutional documents are really on that kind of top row, and particularly on the left-hand side, the mission, vision, and values, and then the educational master plan. So those are the primary, the big guys, I guess. And I've tried to incorporate some green coding to define the links between the mission, vision, values, the institutional strategic plan, the student equity plan, and from there, the program level plans. So that's all highlighted in the green. And then the purple coding defines the links between the educational master plan and our operational plans that consider our resources in the context of how we can achieve the goals in the educational master plan with our resources. So as described in our ICER, MVC operationalizes its mission through the institutional strategic plan, and that's conveyed through the arrow along the top row of the graphic. So we did incorporate the student equity plan into this portion of the graphic, and that's really to emphasize the relationship between the institutional strategic plan and the student equity plan, and that's especially in light of the equity related goal that was added in 2020. You might recall approving that. So both the institutional strategic plan and equity guide and structure program review and the annual planning process, and that those both occur at the unit level. And so that's why I kind of with the arrow down that says guide and structure. The EMP is supported by the resource related plans that cover all aspects of accreditation standard 3. So human, facilities, technology, and financial resources. And so after developing this graphic, Dr. Powell and I also revisited the integrated planning schedule and the what might be considered the aggressive plan to review all institutional plans in 1 year. And so in developing this graphic, I realized that the answer to the sequencing and timing issue was right in front of us. And so based on this graphic, we've updated the schedule to focus on that first and second rows, I guess, to focus on mission, vision, and values, educational master plan, student equity plan, and institutional strategic plan this year. And so that will allow for a more deliberate approach to these guiding documents now. And then those will be followed by review and update of other plans. And so Catherine, you could scroll please to so this is it might look familiar. There have been a few boxes that have been switched around, particularly for the year 2022-23, as I mentioned. And so this reflects the new schedule and it was posted with the agenda. So we'll be working to get these reviews and updates to you in the coming months. And that's all I have.
Catherine, is there any public comment? Okay, thank you. Trustee please go ahead, Dr. Tata.
I just am wondering if I'm thinking of the planning AP, if this schedule reflects or aligns with the planning and budget AP around planning.
It's like I planted the question. So if you could scroll down a little bit, review cycles are based on AP 3250 institutional planning recommended by the committee back in April and the AP mission and values recommended in May.
Okay, so I just want to say that though that AP is a 10+1 and it has not gone through collegial consultation, which would mean that the academic senate needs to do a final recommendation to the board to approve it, and that Dr. Powell and I need to meet to sign off so that there is a contract between the academic senate and the district that recognizes this as mutually agreed upon. And then we've got then we're solid on standard 4A.
Thank you, Dr. Tata. Any other public comment? Okay, we'll close public comment. Trustee Baldini.
My question is there any weight to the order? Is that in the presentation? For instance, on the previous slide, fiscal being down at the bottom, there's no weighted order in these, or
no, yeah,
or different importance?
No, not meant to convey that at all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Trustee Baker.
I was just going to remark that I like that this is laid out with everything kind of pointing toward accreditation and making certain that we keep moving in a cyclical way, the way we're intended. But I had a question that was about, I also like that there's the person identified for each of these things, that this is going to be the point person. But I just want, maybe this is kind of to Dr. Tejada's question about what the process is going to look like for each of these different things. You know, so is it, so this is the person who's in charge, this is the plan, this is the timeline, but are all of these things going to go through the same process, or? Yeah.
It's a really good question. I think it speaks to, I can speak just from my perspective in terms of what I think needs to happen, but I do think this warrants further discussion with the entire college community, just with respect to how we actually engage in these processes, right? Our current guidelines that govern the explicit detail in these processes need a little work, right? And that's a component piece that I think connects up with our general overall interest in ensuring that our governance structure in general is something that works well. So I think that this is an ambitious, fairly aggressive timeline for updating some of these, as in some instances for some of these work groups, we'll be kind of building the car as we drive down the road in terms of who needs to be there and what the process looks like. I will say that we will default to the existing processes to the extent they exist for some of these guidelines, and then use that as a building block for us to assess what the actual process will be moving forward. So a lot of work to be done there, but I think we'll I'm fairly confident we're going to get there. So
I
the
like
timelines.
the building the car while you're driving down the road analogy much better than building the plane while you're flying, because ending up in a ditch is way better than ending up in a field.
Yeah, we don't want that one. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you. I did have one. I mean, in terms of developing this timeline, I like the idea of us being conservative. And just so I think if this does have to change again, I'm okay with that. I mean, I understand there is a lot to do, but I also want to be realistic with the resources that we have right now, especially knowing that we don't have anything, budgeted for consultants and stuff. And my anticipation is a lot of this is going to be done in-house. I know a lot of talking needs to still occur for this planning process to begin. But I just wanted to note that I think we're okay if we don't. But I think in terms of developing this chart, let's just be realistic if we're actually going to get this all approved on the timeline on this chart. But if it does happen, that's amazing. Thank you. Okay. We'll go to consent calendar. Can any items need to be pulled? Catherine, any public comment? Would you mind just pulling that up on the screen? Oh, thank you. Perfect. Thank you. Any questions? Well, I'd welcome a motion.
Just want to
Move
point
approval.
out that we had,
Excuse me.
just want to point out that we had pulled out item 10.9 at
Correct.
the beginning.
Correct. That includes that amendment. Thank you, Trustee Rios.
Baldini, move approval.
Thank you, Trustee Baldini.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Rios. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Adopting the consent unanimously. We will move to 11 point. No, excuse me. We switched that around. So we're which is now 15.1, or what was 15.1, review of board policy manual, chapter 2 for the board. That was one of the items that we switched on the beginning. I'm sorry, that was very convoluted. I think there was like 4 or 5 changes. So thank you for bearing with us here.
No. We're okay. Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
that's correct.
That's correct. Thank you.
Dr. Powell, that's my fault. A lot of changes. I'll take the blame.
I'll pass this over to Catherine. Catherine Gill.
Yeah, so this is our continuous review cycle. It for board policies and procedures. We did a lot of work in spring to bring the board policy manuals up to date as we can get. There's still work to do bringing many of our documents into legal compliance. And at the same time, we're beginning the continuous review cycle so that we'll be done by the next accreditation site visit. So we'll be starting on chapter 2. That is the board's chapter this fall. And we're doing a review of your documents. And let me just show you, we anticipate, this is the list of chapter 2 documents. These are almost all under your purview. The board does your own work on your own chapter. With the exception of these 2 documents, 2410 and 2510. And those will go through the shared governance or participatory governance process. The rest of the documents you will review and work on, and we will record then that you have reviewed and or revised them. We anticipate changes to the documents that are bold. And I anticipate we bring these to you in October for a first read. And then November for a second read and finalization.
Thank you, Catherine. Any questions from board members?
No.
We'll move on to update on the FICMAT report, which was 11.1. Mr. Reeves?
Thank you, Trustee Dodd. In the board docs, we posted an update to the observations by the FCMAT team. The report was presented to the board in May, just a few months ago. We have made progress in several areas. It's about 8 pages long, the update, so I'll spare you that for the moment, but it's worth taking a look at. We have realized some progress in several areas, particularly in the recommendations related to business operations, cash management, internal controls, and budget development. I will acknowledge at the outset that there are structural issues related to the college operation and finances that Dr. Powell and I and the President's Cabinet are looking to determine how to engage our colleagues across the campus in coming to developing strategies to address those, including enrollment management, our staffing levels, in addition to a few other matters in terms of how we're trending, how efficient we are, and what steps we need to take to address those. So with respect to the operations, you'll see the narrative included in that document. But again, the structural issues, if you will, we'll need to bring back a recommendation about how we will be addressing those. But I think you will see some progress there. They align very closely to the recommendations page on the FCMAT report. I think it's page 27. But these are all the observations the team made and our response to those observations. I would welcome any questions.
Any questions? Okay. We will move on to reports. As a reminder, we're trying to keep reports to no longer than 3 minutes so we can keep the updates focused and at a high level. If you anticipate in the future you need to take a little bit longer, please let me or Dr. Powell know so we can separately agendize that item. We will start it off with Carrie Fix, our new president from ASNVC. Is she on Zoom by any chance?
No, I don't see her present.
Okay, then we'll move to 16.3, classified Senate report. Danielle Alexander.
There. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, cool. Hello, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to give the classified Senate report this evening. This report is collaborative in nature with many people's input being included. It was a pleasure for many of the classified Senate executive board members to attend the Collegiality in Action meeting last Thursday. We thank Dr. Tejada and the Academic Senate for their inclusion of all the constituent groups in this experience. There were mixed responses from the classified to the meeting afterward. Some people were optimistic about the experience. Others felt that perhaps this was a moment where certain things were a box that had been checked off of a list. Still others were concerned about the cost of having experts come in to help the Board of Trustees and faculty work through their discordant relationship while we're facing continued budget issues. It's my fervent hope that this was an important first step in listening to and communicating with one another in ways that benefit all members of the NVC community. And I think Dr. McGowan said it best when he expressed that the expertise of all human beings here is necessary and valuable. Some of our senators have expressed concerns about communication moving into the future with regard to the budget and overstaffing. March is 6 months away, and March 15th notices lurk in the fears of some of our professionals. It's our hope that the whole community will be included in communication to every extent possible in advance of March 15th notices being given to people. And it is our hope and our request of you that a different kind of wisdom prevail in the months to come than were employed in the early months of this year. The classified Senate is grateful, very grateful for the presence of Dr. Powell at NVC. He has brought many gifts with him to our college, including a sense of humor, an honest character, and a true willingness to listen to and consider the words of others without ego and defensiveness leading him. We believe that with him as our superintendent president, each constituent group will be seen and heard, and that we can build new relationships with one another. I will not belabor the issues that we all know the classified professionals are facing with rigid rather than flexible work arrangements, daily COVID exposure, budgetary restraints, inadequate technology, et cetera. We all know what's going on with that. But with this being true and difficult, our focus as a Senate is to participate in shared governance in meaningful ways. We recognize that this is going to require changes in how we are viewed and treated, as well as how we view and treat others, and that it will take slow and steady work to achieve some of our goals. We hope to continue to build something that we can be very proud of here, not only for our students, but for each other as well, and for the classified professionals who come after us. But we feel like we're off to a good start this semester, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. Classified Association, Dixie Larson.
Dixie is with us.
Hi there. Hi, everybody. Good evening. I don't have a long report. I'd like to just congratulate our faculty tenures this evening. I took 3 courses with Rachel Crushy, and she's a great teacher. So I was excited to see that. I'd like to reiterate what Brian King and Joshua Murillo said. We'd like to see some sort of plan or a timeline of some kind regarding the testing of the remote positions. I mean, we keep getting told that they need to be tested, but we tested them for 2.5 years, and especially the ones that are not student facing, we feel we're really successful. So if we could get a timeline, that would be great. And that ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dixie. Robert Vandervelde, Administrative Confidential Senate Report.
Thank you, President Dodd, members of the board. Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Powell and Dr. Tejada, for the invitation to participate in the Collegiality in Action visit conducted jointly by the State Academic Senate and the League for California Community Colleges. Administrative Senate officers were engaged participants in the dialogue about governance, and we look forward to collaborating with the board and other constituency groups to move forward with effective governance of the college. The information shared was illuminating, the discussion was robust and candid, and the stage has been set for a new era at Napa Valley College. Meanwhile, we've been overseeing the start of a new semester and a new academic year, made more complicated than usual by the lingering residual effects of the summer cyber attack. These cyber attacks are very real. We learned last week that an entire nation suffered a cyber attack in North Macedonia, 1.8 million people, all of their systems, their transportation, their logistics, their communications, all subject to a cyber attack. And our fellow community colleges in California have also experienced cyber attacks, some more than once. So this is a very real and painful process. If you've ever had a kitchen remodel, and not to stretch the analogy too far, Trustee Baker, but we're still living in the house while we're rebuilding it. If you got the dishwasher in, that doesn't mean you automatically get clean dishes, because you have to connect it to the power, you've got to connect it to the water, you've got to connect it to the drainage, and until then you're eating on paper plates. I'm speaking from personal experience here. As long as you compost and that very much is where we are with our current issues. We have a lot of the power, but we're still working on a lot of the other connections. As a result of the cyber attack, we had a bit of a rolling start this semester with some classes moved to the 16 or 15-week session. However, once we started those classes, We had an outstanding turnout of students. I'm really delighted. It's great to see so many students back on campus and engaged. And in fact, last week, Bob Harris, Doug Marriott, and I led a campus tour for officials from the City of Napa Department of Economic Development. And the feeling of energy and excitement of the beginning of a new semester on campus was palpable for our city partners. They came away impressed with how much we have to offer at Napa Valley College, and we very much look forward to further collaborations with them. It has been a bumpy, but a good start to the academic year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Academic Senate report, Dr. Tejada.
Good evening, President Powell, Board of Trustees, colleagues, and students. I wish to acknowledge that I am reading this report from the unceded land of the Patwin, Anasasis, and Miwok peoples, and that I remain committed to be in solidarity and in action to seek equity and justice with them. Congratulations to the faculty receiving tenure tonight. Tenure is one of the two columns or pillars of academic freedom. And so tonight we collectively are acknowledging and supporting academic freedom through the process of tenure. And of course, the other pillar is governance, which we are working on. I want to thank the Board of Trustees. I want to thank all of you for a successful collegiality in action visit. I know that we waited to have a permanent president, and I am so glad that we waited to do that. It has been a pleasure to work with Dr. Powell. I want to just say that very candidly, the level of engagement and expertise is not only refreshing, it actually invites engagement and is helping the faculty regain its trust in our institution. And so I just want to say that I really appreciate what you're doing and how you are engaging with the Academic Senate. As a matter of fact, the Senate is committed to continuing our work as described within the parameters of the law. I have invited Dr. Powell to share his vision of how we will move forward, what the plan is after our collegiality in action visit. And so he will be presenting at our next Academic Senate meeting on Tuesday. And so we are looking forward to that. I wish to commend our IT department for working to keep our technology up and functioning. We continue, as we move into the fourth week of the semester, we continue to face technology challenges, and it is affecting our enrollment. I lost 3 students in my class as a result of not being able to register at one time, of not being able to access Canvas from campus. So I'm hoping that you hear the plea to make this a priority, both financially as well as governance. It's a related issue. I do hope we will resolve the tech issues sooner than later, is my hope. I wish to support the classified professionals in their desire to telecommute. One of the things that I had shared with Dr. Parker was we had an opportunity during the COVID years to really look at how we could lessen our carbon footprint and really continue to serve our students effectively. Perhaps we can look at the data that we have on how well we worked as remotely, and that we could use that data to help lessen our carbon footprint. It sounds like classified professionals are requesting that you look at this, and I'm in support and in solidarity with that. And just as a little reminder, I'm from Puerto Rico, and this last week it was cooler in Puerto Rico than in Northern California. So I just want to say that climate change is real. It was in the 70s in Puerto Rico. It was 115 in Vallejo. Just saying, we might want to look at the lessening of the carbon footprint. This concludes my report. Thank you.
And there's a hurricane about to hit Southern California.
Thank you. Christy Iwamoto, Faculty Association.
Good evening, everyone. I want to open by congratulating my fellow faculty on completing the tenure process. They are all great educators, great union members, and great people. I am proud to call them my colleagues. Now, I want to say I'm very encouraged with the money for technology going into the budget. And I had a whole thing to read tonight. I'm going to read it anyway, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to read it because I know it's like a song where like the refrain keeps getting the same, and it's the technology issues tonight. But I'm going to read it anyway because we spent a lot of time in our union meeting today talking about this, and I wanted to honor the feelings of the faculty who came forward with issues, and I just wanted to make sure that I put them on the record. So technology continues to be an issue here on campus. I recently, after an outage, sent an email about these issues to Mr. Reeves. And when I hit reply, my reply actually gives you the string of all the emails about technology that had gone out. And I counted 8 emails that Mr. Reeves had kindly sent out regarding various outages and tech issues just between the dates of August 17th and August 31st. And I want to say that the recent tech issues that we've had in the cyber attack are somewhat to blame, but they are not solely to blame. In 2016, I told Dr. Ron Kraft that we really needed to invest in new technology. And he told me at the time that the magnitude of a total upgrade from what we had to what we needed was too complicated and too expensive. That was 6 years ago. And believe me, today, the upgrade to what we need is not less complicated and less expensive than it was in 2016. And yet, waiting another 6 years is not going to put us in a better position. It is not going to get less complicated and less expensive than it is today. And that's why we need to fix these things today. Last week, I was contacting Mr. Reeves because the internet access was out to the entire 1700 building, which is our library. And we also have offices and classrooms there. Students, faculty, and staff had been leaving their homes to drive to campus daily using gas money and bridge tolls just to be told they can't get things done on campus. They can't do their jobs or work here, but they could have at home. So we're advocating for a return to campus. And in that, we are making a promise to our students and our faculty, our administrators, our classified staff. We're making them a promise that they can effectively get their work done here, and that promise is not being kept. Just today at the union meeting, I was informed of new faculty members who still have not gotten email addresses or Canvas access to their own classes or rosters of their own students. Faculty have planned class sessions around having access to the internet in their classrooms. And then because the tech not working, their whole classes are ruined because they planned for their whole student, their whole class to get on the internet together and they can't. Our math and English success centers, which rely on technology, have been affected. Faculty are embarrassed. Students are unhappy. They've been frustrated. They've had meltdowns due to not being able to access work due to Wi-Fi being down in various areas. They have dropped classes because they were already struggling, and now they can't reliably get to their class content online. Our IT staff is excellent here. I've heard stories of Daniel, Karen, and others in the IT department staying up late and going above and beyond. They are trying desperately to hold together a crumbling structure as it disintegrates piece by piece, building by building in their hands. And I realize that Dr. Powell and Mr. Reeves have inherited a big mess. They did not create this problem. And we've told them that we want to be an innovative college and then given them this to work with. Meanwhile, the problems worsen every day. So I'm asking that with this budget, we make a commitment to our students to fix this issue. This issue needs to be a priority, and it is time for us to have the technology and access that we need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to our IT team and Jim. I know it's really tough to be the person who's delivering challenging news all the time. But thank you for the level of communication that you are bringing. It's I know it's tough. We will move to President and Cabinet reports. Dr. Powell.
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Dodd. Order will go in is Bob, then Alex, and then myself.
Thank you, Dr. Powell. Thank you, Trustee Dodd. Well, the first several weeks of the fall semester have flown by and we are slowly beginning to stabilize. Our enrollments have topped 11,000 head count, which is great. Still behind what we would like to be, but improving. And that's when factoring in all courses across campus. That includes credit, non-credit, high school courses and stuff. So a month ago, I gave a report that was slightly better than the 4,000, but we're moving forward. So that's great. Campus constituent groups took part in the collegiality and action discussion last Friday, and we will be utilizing that information and future information to fill gaps and to create improved and inclusive structures and inclusive processes that we all can point to in the future as best practices that meet compliance standards and standards that illustrate a strong and effective governance structure. Last night, I had the opportunity to attend the Puente program's Noche de Familias for the first time. It was outstanding to see students with their family and support structure attending and listening to the outstanding leaders in the program. Professor Aaron DeFranco, an English, Hope Scott counselor, Eric Martinez counselor, and Christine Tapia. She is a Puente mentor and a member of the administrative confidential staff. It illustrated to me that although still transitioning, the campus is returning to being a focal point where people can meet, exchange ideas, and engage in fellowship. As the semester continues to progress and looking ahead 1 month to the next, in the October board meeting, we are preparing feverishly for the spring 23 semester. Within 2 weeks of this meeting next month, the spring 23 schedule will be going live. And so registration will begin. And hopefully the efforts made via the 90-day enrollment program plan, outreach, community goodwill that Dr. Powell and the rest of the campus group are moving forward will bring a return, and the desire for the community to return to education will elicit the enrollments that we've strived to have for in the spring. No doubt, though, as we've all listened tonight, we have many moving pieces, many initiatives, many programs converging on us all at once, with the upcoming ACCJC visit, as Dr. Warnall outlined. Much is happening on campus, in the classrooms, in the hallways, and behind the scenes. We look forward to working on and implementing these goals and initiatives in the best manner possible to support the goals of the board, the goals of Dr. Powell, and the goals of the campus community at large. Onward and upward, as my colleague Dr. Marriott says. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, members of the board, colleagues, community, and students. So I wanted to actually start off my report today highlighting an activity that occurred today on campus. And it's actually not in my written report, but because it happened today, but I think it's really important to lift up and to acknowledge the important work, especially of the transfer center. We had transfer day today on campus, and it was an amazing experience. We had over 30 universities attend Napa Valley College. And I forgot to mention that this was planned to be right out in front of the library, but it was 105 today. So as of Monday, the team got together and we're looking all over campus to find spaces to be able to have this. So we moved it to the Performing Arts Center, and it was a huge success in the lobby. Over 300 universities attended, over 30 universities with over 300 high school students. So we actually were able to collaborate with Napa High, with Vintage, American Canyon, and bring buses of students to our campus to experience Napa Valley College and also to just learn about possible universities. So it was a great opportunity, not only for our high school partners, but for our campus community. And because our staff they're just so creative, we had actually at one point so many students in the pack and it was getting stuffy that they decided to lead tours. So on the fly, the staff got together and led tours to students on campus. And we had a bunch of high school students walking up and down before it got too hot, throughout our campus today, just learning about what we have to offer. So I just want to acknowledge that and really lift up the Transfer Center staff, specifically Omar Pena, Michelle Hinchcliffe, Elizabeth Lara Medrano for their hard work and commitment to our community and to our students. So I want to start off with that and really just kind of build on the momentum that we've really been doing around in student affairs around outreach in particular. And what does that mean? So a couple of us actually about two weeks ago were up in Calistoga for their back to school night with over probably about 300 participants at that activity. We had a table, all Spanish speakers, majority Spanish speakers who were at this event, and just were able to make really important connections with the community, Up Valley in particular. And the goal there, again, is to demonstrate to the community that we are back, we're here, and we're ready to serve and to educate them. So it was an important opportunity. I put some pictures in my report for you to take a look at. And we have other activities planned throughout this month, more to come next month. So we're really intentional about making sure that we make that bridge back into the community and then let the community know that we're going to offer them the support that they need. We have some challenges, of course. We're taking this very serious. I also included in my report information about the ACRO report that was done around our strategic enrollment processes that you will get a deeper presentation on later on. And when we do a little bit of a deeper dive on that and pull that apart and be able to present to the board some recommendations and moving forward with that. But it's exciting times for student affairs, exciting times for Napa Valley College as we reopen, reconnect, reestablish ourselves in the community. And I'm very excited to be part of it. And we have an amazing team backing us up. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll call Holly Dawson up, PIO.
Good evening. Does that work? Yes. Good evening, trustees, colleagues, students. I'd just like to give you a brief update. I don't know that you'll be able to, we'll just have to scroll on some of the things that we are doing in public affairs and communications to support all of the things that we do here and to help increase enrollment. So this actually is really something that HR is leading, but I couldn't help but put that picture up there because it really celebrates Napa Valley College and our spirit. And I'm sure that Chara will share more about our NVC Spirit Days, but keep going, please. Can you scroll? So in the media, as I say here, some say there's no such thing as bad publicity, but I like good publicity, especially publicity that shows off our faculty and employees and programs and initiatives. These are just a couple of stories recently about Mandisa Wood, our new ethnic studies department, breaking ground on our housing project. And Dr. Powell's been in the news just a little bit on the cover of Marketplace and also recently on the front page of the Napa Valley Register. Keep going, please. Short form video. We really have been reviewing our social media as well as other social media and have determined that short videos are one of the most efficient, effective ways to share information and really resonate with our target audience and with our students. At your leisure, you're welcome to click on this document, and each of these actually are live, so you can click on and watch the videos, or if you're following us on social media, you will have the opportunity to see them there. Speaking of social media, if you haven't yet, please follow NVC President. Dr. Powell has his own Instagram account and Twitter account, as well as the institutional accounts that we are running. Can you please keep scrolling? Whoops. Okay. Swag. Everybody wants swag. So I left you some stickers there. You probably have seen like Danielle's bottle here that this is the thing to do, stickers on the bottle. So that was one of the first items that we started with, but we are in the process of creating some other materials such as tote bags, beanies, webcam covers, socks, lanyards, pens, water bottles, etc. Particularly with our big event coming up on October 15th, so that we have those available, but also with all of the outreach events that Dr. G mentioned and the desire to have materials to be able to share. Next, please. Sorry, I did it this way, so it's harder to scroll. Vine Transit advertising. So It's a great vehicle, pun intended, to brand Napa Valley College and remind the community why we're here. And so we will have advertising in the next couple of weeks. It will come up and be up for several months on both buses and in bus shelters. We are really pushing out the theme, Rediscover Napa Valley College. This is our 80th year. And that's great, but 80 just sounds old. And we really want to invite people to rediscover us and look toward the future and everything that we have to offer. It's a great time because we have a new website coming, we have a new president, and I think we're all sort of getting reinvigorated, even with some of the challenges that you've heard this evening. So this is the side of buses. You can just keep scrolling, please. Back of the bus. And that is a bus shelter, Vine Transit. Okay. And then finally, a couple big events that are coming up. Yeah, I've got these dates written up there, committing to them as much as I possibly can, because, you know, with technology changes that could affect the website. But on September 21, we will have our official groundbreaking ceremony for the River Trail Village, our student housing project. We are excited. We'll be welcoming our senator and our assembly member to help us with that groundbreaking ceremony on 10/10. We're flipping the switch. It may not be 100%, but yeah, write that down, Jim. But we are focusing on making sure that we have a website that will have all of the immediately necessary information for our students and the public. And then we will continue to add some things that may not be on there right away. We just don't want to hold this process up anymore. We had originally hoped to launch a few months ago, but a few things held us up. Technology. Okay. And then if you go down one more on 10/12, just the next event down there. And then 10/15 is our community open house, where we are inviting the community to rediscover Napa Valley College. Lots more information will be coming out, but mark your calendars, 11 to 3. And then the foundation is planning to have a special reception at 3:00 at the winery after that. So thank you very much for the opportunity to share just a few updates of what we are doing in communications.
Thank you, Holly. I'll keep my comments brief. Just wanted to really, start by thanking the board members of Academic Senate, our classified Senate, members of the Administrative Confidential Senate, our acting ASNVC president for their participation in last week's Collegiality in Action visit. It was, I think, very helpful for us because it, just on the base level, gave us a lot of good information about governance, the roles of constituency groups in the board. It's given us some guidance on how to further improve our governance process going forward. But I think moreover, it's just given us a sense of, maybe direction and I'd like to say hopefulness in terms of what we can do collectively as a community and, how we can work towards being, really good colleagues working, towards the collective goodwill of our students and our community. So I'm very optimistic. I do want to highlight on August 25th, Dr. Guerrero and I hosted a college forum on enrollment management. Thank you for your efforts there. We did have a chance to share some very key data points on enrollment trends over the past 10 years or so. We also shared some information about what we have been doing and what we are doing now and what's in the works with respect to our enrollment management strategies, with a strong emphasis on re-engagement in our communities, particularly those communities who historically may have not seen us, where we haven't been present. So thank you again, Doctor, for your work on that and your leadership in that space. You kind of stole my thunder, Holly, on the last one. I was going to give a shout out on for the open house on Saturday, October 15th. Literally, I have almost word for word exactly what you said, so I won't belabor that. But I do want to acknowledge and highlight, the work of our public information officer, that department, and really helping and working collaboratively in a space for us to re-engage, for us to coordinate and collaborate in terms of our outreach strategies. So we're very strategic with respect to who we hit, and we're very thoughtful in terms of who we are connecting with, who, again, we may not historically have done a good job at. So that's really an effort of many people in this room. And so thank you for that work. Just my last thought and reflection, which is not something that I have written down, but just something that I've been thinking about throughout the course of this board meeting. This is 2 full months for me, right? Going on month 3. And I feel just really good about things, right? And I know there's still a lot more work to do. A lot of the challenges and issues that we've articulated here tonight are persistent things that we continue to deal with, and we're brainstorming ways to get out of it. We're still addressing a lot of the issues that I brought forth during Flex Day in terms of just our campus climate, issues of collegiality, of just how we converse and trust and build those relationships. But I do feel momentum and movement, and it's trending towards a positive direction. And so I appreciate everyone's honesty with respect to where we're at. And I really appreciate your patience and your willingness to jump in and do the heavy lifting and the difficult work collectively to make our college a better place and to ensure that we're doing what we're doing to serve our community. And that goes for everyone in the room, everyone out in Zoom land, and the folks who aren't with us in either space tonight. So thank you all. And that concludes our reports.
Thank you, Dr. Powell.
Mhm.
We'll do reports from committees. DOS Foundation.
Yes, DOS has not had a meeting. Our next meeting is set for September 27th, Tuesday.
I think a topic of discussion, by the way, for DOS, this is my idea, is the new logos, Holly, that you guys put together for stickers, some shirts in the bookstore.
We actually did tote bags for welcome week. Yes.
Sorry. That's my last comment for the evening.
All right,
Thank
and while you're there, umbrellas. That's like follow the storm or track the storm or storm trackers or something like that.
Do you need interns? Viticulture and Winery Foundation.
Yes, our next meeting is Wednesday, the 14th of September. So next Wednesday, I believe it's at 5 p.m. Is that either that or 3 o'clock? But yes.
Yeah, audit.
That's right, 3 o'clock.
Yeah, and on Audit and Finance Committee met.
Yeah, nothing further on our meeting, but our next meeting, the date is to be determined. We'll hear from Mr. Reeves on the best timing for that. So that'll come out in the future.
Great. Real Property has not met. We will forego McPherson and Shank Awards and move to College Foundation.
No report this evening.
I know Accreditation Steering Committee, I know Dr. Warner gave that very comprehensive report, but
yeah, we just have a meeting next week. So, and lots of work to do from now on.
Great. Thank you. Catherine, could you open our future agenda item requests, please? Any comments, anything to add, subtract? Trustee Baker.
I have several things I'd like to add or consider, have the board consider for adding.
Okay.
The first is the issue of remote work that's come up a few times. I know that's been addressed by admin, but I think at the very least it would be nice to have a report about how they came to the current policy and what might still be open for discussion. So the other things I have are really more, one of them is not really an item for the agenda, but I wanted to ask about a potential change to the format of the agenda. Working for city government, we have staff reports that go with all of the different agenda items that make it really a lot easier to digest some of this information. So I'd be happy to forward some examples. I think it would be really, I know it does make extra work for people because I have to do it too, but it makes it a lot more transparent as to what the different options are, the background of various things. Some of the stuff that's already in board docs does that, but this would just be a much more formal version of that. So anyway, I could forward that on. Then the other two things I have are more facility issues. Every time I've come in this building for the last few months, I've thought this and I never said it, but there's in our lobby, the doors that connect the lobby to the bathrooms. There's no ADA that you have to put, there's an option to push a button to open the door to the bathroom, but not the door to that area. And I'm wondering, is there any reason why those doors are even there? Is that if we can't just remove them? So that's just my thought. And final.
I don't know if we need an agenda item about that, but yes.
Just something to throw in. And final is I would love, I'm a new owner of an electric car and I love it. And I'm having a little trouble finding places to charge it. And I was found out that Napa County actually has chargers downtown that are subsidized by the county. So you could actually charge your vehicle for free. And I know we have chargers here. And so I didn't know that may be something that could be investigated to see if there might be a grant or something that would pay for something like that, because I believe that they are paying for it with a grant. So just tossing that out there.
Well, I have a gasoline powered vehicle, and I was wondering if we could get a gas station that is subsidized.
I also have an electric vehicle that's currently plugged into the charging station here. It is a subsidized rate. It is 25 cents a kilowatt hour. PG&E charges me 43 cents more if it's between the peak hours. So, and it is funded through a grant project, a public-private partnership. We used to have 3 stations with those of us who had electric vehicles would agree to move our cars periodically. Now we have 3 sets of charging at the Performing Arts Center by the Fine Arts Building and also here at the 1500 building. So I would encourage you to use those.
Any other, I mean, I don't want to leave you out there hanging in terms of adding these ideas or so on. I'm just trying to think about the most efficient way to address it with everything that we have on our current future agenda.
Don't we have a process that a majority of the board is supposed to be on?
So yeah, I was happy to go there. I was hoping for some help before we took actually a vote, but I'm happy to go through that. So Jennifer, I don't know if that, if you want, happy to just kind of like bring it through a vote or something in terms of. So future agenda items. Yeah, there was 4 different items that I have. Remote work policy.
I would.
Okay.
Me too.
Okay. Too bad. I'm bored. I'm okay. I think with, making a statement with where the board is at, I think on the policy, and where we're thinking about, moving forward. And it takes maybe some more thought, but we can, I think with that, maybe we could find an opportunity to talk about that, next month, or Dr. Powell, we could kind of think about the best way to roll out that information, in our priorities, unless you want.
I think we can easily, kind of present the current status or lack thereof of a remote work or telecommuting policy and, the thought process that went into, the initial return to work. I'm happy to share that. And if there's additional requests, for perhaps consideration, maybe that's something we can talk about offline.
Okay. So I'm seeing some support on that in terms of agenda items and staff report. My one concern, I've asked about the same thing because that's my experience in working with cities and counties and other agencies, and that we do have this, the background and summary, and sometimes the summaries are a little bit more robust than others. I'm also trying to be wary of staff time and resources to that end, but maybe that's something that the 3 of us, we can talk with Dr. Powell about the best way to kind of provide some more information, especially where we think maybe there might be areas where it's lacking. Okay.
Well, that I just want to make my concern known that the time and expense, everybody is extremely busy. Clearly, there's a lot going on. So I'm concerned about, forcing people to do a more robust, report. And I know sometimes we get the agendas, a few days before, sometimes with more time, sometimes with a little less time, certainly within the required amount of time. But if I don't get them, a few days in advance, and stuff that gets added, 3 days before or, 2 days before, I can't get to. I mean, I've got to make a living too. And so adding more will make it even more difficult to, I think, for us to be able to get through some of the stuff that we need to review.
Let me just does anybody have any?
No, I agree with Rafa on that point as well. I think if there is already documentation on other presentations that are made, then I would love to see that. I love, hearing the reports of the social media and all the gatherings and everything, and we can't be at everything. So getting some kind of indication, pictures, whatever it is nice if it's already existing, but adding that to staff already full plates would be, I think, too much at this point, but maybe something we could look at later.
Yeah, sorry, Trustee Baker.
I just wanted to clarify what I have in mind, and maybe with some examples that we could do offline, but it's more about a transparency issue with the public. Like when the public looks at an agenda item, to be able to see what that's about, particularly if it's an action item. If it's something that's informational, I'm like, but if it's an action item, being able to see upfront in the agenda packet, a brief summary of what, why, how, and then, what are the alternatives if there are any. So that sort of thing. I mean, so we get some of that you could get through inference, but just to have it, the information already exists. It's just a matter of collating it. So anyway, I can provide some examples of
Okay.
that.
Would you be okay if we maybe just talked about that with Dr. Powell and then, forego that? Okay. Let's see here. Facilities, we could talk about that maybe with Mr. Reeves, and then EV chargers as well. I think that's something that, it's helpful. Different trustees can take on a little initiatives and so on. Maybe that's helpful. Or I'm just, again, this is another kind of being sensitive to staff resources in terms of where everything at, and which would ultimately fall in probably Mr. Reeves's department. And he's already dealing with abundance of facilities issues.
I have bathroom button on my list. Was there anything else?
Okay, I'll move on. But Trustee Baker, is that okay? I think cool. Okay. That's all I have. Any other comments on future agenda items? Okay, we'll move.
If you're going to throw in EV chargers, you might as well throw in solar panels. Those things are well past their half-life, and the amount of power we haven't cleaned them in years. I think there was actually a Napa Valley College meeting out there, and everybody had brushes and water, and we cleaned them up to increase their efficiency. But those are dated, need replacement, and it's been a long time since we've done anything. We just take them for granted, but they need to be updated.
Something to note in our upcoming facilities master plan. That's what I'm thinking. Okay. Thank you, Trustee Baldini. Trustee reports. We will move. I'll just go from my left to right. Sorry, Inez. Trustee DeLuna.
I don't have a lot to report. I do want to encourage the board to attend the CCLC trustee webinars. They're every Thursday, or mainly every Thursday afternoon at noon, and they're just super informative. It's great to hear from other college trustees what they're doing now, how they're approaching. Today was the declining enrollment, different strategies that they have, different engagement opportunities. So it's just great to be able to hear from them. And it's also great to see the collaboration between the president and the board of trustees, and how closely they work together and really push the community forward as one community, one college community. So it's great to be a part of that. I have my second CCCT board meeting next week. So that will be in Sacramento. It's going to be the first time we're all in person. So that'll be fun. And if you have anything you want me to talk about there, let me know. We are actually pushing cybersecurity attacks and some kind of CCLC assistance that can be given to all the California community colleges, because there have been so many attacks on different college campuses that really affect everybody. So that is already something on the agenda. That's all.
Thank you. Trustee Goff.
Yes, just a couple notes. I want to congratulate our new professors. That's very exciting. It's very exciting to see that happen. And just my support, 100% investing in technology. It's not something you can say, let's do it and we're done. It's a continual process. And I think Napa Valley College has woken up to that fact, just like several other colleges and entities, realizing that it is a continual investment. If you're going to do it, you got to commit, and you got to commit every year, because if you don't, it's not worth doing. It's frustrating. You know, we can go back to books and pencils and papers. That's easy. But who wants to do that? Nobody wants to do that, right? We want to prepare our students for what's out there. So we really need to do that. On a private note, my husband just bought an electric vehicle. It works out very well because we have solar on our house. So it's like, God, it was awesome. Now he just wants me to drive it. And all those buttons, what is that about? No key? Anyway, I just wanted to compliment everybody who is involved in the transfer day today. I'm teaching both ends this year. I have freshmen who I have all of the AVID students across my freshman classes. And AVID, if you don't know, is an acronym for students. They're the first ones to attempt to go to college. They get extra support and study skills and things like that. A couple of them actually made it to my last period. I think they didn't have a ride home. And they were very excited about being at Napa Valley College. The other end, I had a couple of my AP literature students actually talked to me yesterday and say, hey, we can't get on the AVID bus, but we're going. And so they were also here. So it was really exciting to me to be able to say, you know, I've got these really strong students who are looking at Napa Valley College, as well as brand new students who may not have thought of college until they got here. So thank you for that day. I will tell you, I'm very jealous that you weren't at our back to school night. So please keep that in mind for next year, because we'd love to have you. I will tell you, Napa Valley College is a very positive presence on our campus. The students know the counselors that are there. They're very responsive to our student needs. And every time somebody opens their mouth about, I don't know what to do, I tell them to contact Napa Valley College Counseling, and they always get a response. And I got to tell you, that is priceless. So I really appreciate all your work on that, and really connecting to the high schools. It's really important. And I think that's all. I was going to say something about remote work, but I think we covered it. So we'll get something on that. Anyways, welcome back. I hope everybody had a good start this year.
Trustee Iverson.
Just really short. I just want to thank everybody. And I know that there's been a lot of hard work, and I feel a sense of positive energy right now. And I feel good about the direction of the college and the district and where we're all going right now. So thank you for everybody's hard work.
Trustee Rios.
I don't really have a report. I just do want to say that I was very happy to hear Dr. Guerrero mention that he and others were up in Calistoga, something that I don't think has happened in the past, or certainly not enough. I think it's Calistoga, even St. Helena gets a little bit neglected, or certainly did in the past. So I'm very happy to hear that. Happy to come and join you whenever you are up there again. So that's wonderful. So thank you very much.
Trustee Baker.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to first say that how much I appreciate all the work that's being put into the reports and things that we're getting now. I really like that they're very visual and easy to understand, and particularly that you can see now how everything's connected, particularly for timelines and things that are connected with accreditation. So it's very much appreciated. I really enjoyed the event last week with the Academic Senate. And as I was thinking about it, both during and after, I kept coming back to something that I've used at work called the ADKAR model for change. And it's ADKAR. So it's awareness. The steps for change are awareness, that you need change, a desire to change, knowledge to change, action, and then reinforcement. So I feel like we are now at knowledge and we're ready for action. And so I'm excited to move forward with that. To Danielle Alexander's point, I appreciate that the concern about paying for expertise, but it's not just about fixing a discordant relationship. It's about fixing failed processes that led to that. So hopefully we'll all get there. And then if you'll all indulge me as I put my librarian hat on, it is International Literacy Day. So happy International Literacy Day. It is also National Library Card Sign Up Month. So if you don't have a library card, go get one. And finally, before we meet again, one of my favorite things is happening. So I have a little statement prepared. It is Banned Books Week. This is very important. So Banned Books Week is coming up. It starts September 18th. Banned Books Week is something that I'm very passionate about. It's also something that can be difficult to explain to people who are not in the library or publishing profession. So the purpose of Banned Books Week is to serve as a reminder to the people that while in this country we are free, that freedom is fragile, and it's up to all of us to safeguard it. We highlight and celebrate books that have been challenged in communities across the country to drive that point home. Titles ranging from picture books to classics, from fiction to science, and everything in between. There have been an estimated 11,000 challenges to books in our country every year since 2016. So the point of Banned Book Week is primarily a call to action and a call to pay attention. But the celebration of Banned Books Week is more than just the charge to protect existing collections from having access denied or limited. It's also a reminder of the commitment to continually acquire and make available books that represent the diversity of individuals in our communities. To illustrate the reason for this, I'm going to share a quote from one of my favorite authors, Neil Gaiman, also the creator of The Sandman, if you're not watching that. In his book, The Ocean at the End of the Lane, one of his characters says, "I lived in books more than I lived anywhere else." And I love the imagery in that metaphor because I too have lived in many books. But if you cannot see yourself in a book, it's very hard to find a way to live in that book. That's why we strive to ensure that the diversity of our collections reflect the diversity of the individuals we serve. Their genders, their skin colors, their histories, their religions, politics, socioeconomic circumstances, countries of origin, ways of thinking and imagining, their experiences, and their voices. This charge and this effort ensures that we serve all members of our community.
Thank you, Trustee Baker. Trustee Baldini.
I won't go there about Catcher in the Rye and things like that. But anyway, thank you to all the staff, faculty, and administrative and classified and cabinet for making this meeting happen, and the elevation of the reporting already been touched on. To Holly's point, another piece of swag that as a member of the Viticulture and Winery Technology Foundation, there's no better swag than a bottle of Napa Valley College wine. I encourage you all to sign up for the wine club and get it out there, or pay a visit to Dr. Powell. Make an appointment though, I would think, with Catherine or someone. I enjoyed the discussion, the dialogue with the California community as well as the Academic Senate. Enjoyed it very much. I can't wait another 20 years to have one though. So it seems like I don't think we've done it before. Some of your best folks is with the community connection. You heard about Inez. Thank you very much, Inez, for picking up that torch. It was Charles Mang a long time ago, Trustee Mang, that was a member, and you Elizabeth, your comments on the teaching and so on and so forth. But there's no better group here to get the message out. And I don't know if I'm not on the listserv, but it'd be nice on the listserv for sporting events, for performing arts, for Puente, for Trio, for STEM, and all those things that, today's my Sunday. So it'd been nice to have those opportunities. So if put us on it, put us to work. We're out there in the community. I'll be more than happy to. I live a few steps away from Justin, and I know they have a certain attitude about Napa College, but it's time that changed. The opportunity here is just fantastic. To Dr. Powell and your friends out in outer space, I just want to point this to the camera. Find your future right here at Napa Valley College. So thank you very much. Back to you, sir.
Thank you, Trustee Baldini. I just want to express, I think, my gratitude, to Dr. Powell and, our very new cabinet team, who I know are just really working hard, especially in a long day and long board meeting. But I think really appreciate everything that the team is doing. When problems arise, we don't go out and point fingers and blame people. We step up and try to meet that challenge. I know the budget, I think, is a clear example of that. Dr. Powell about effectively broadening out the group who attended the CIA consultation to include various other constituencies, in addition to the board and the academic senate. Just very meaningful, opening up the dialogue. Exactly what you said you were going to do on day one. I look at student services. What you talked about, making lemonade out of lemons. Challenges dealing with the IT issues, and you guys, the team went out there and made phone calls to bring back enrollment to over 90% of what it was last year. It's an incredible feat. We were just talking about example about transfer day. It was how we guys plan to do it outside. We're blaming people about, whoever planned to do it outside. We wanted to find it constructive. Let's find another place to do it. Too many people in there. Let's find another place. Maybe we can give out student tours. So I really appreciate that kind of proactive, constructive approach. I think that's what we're looking for the future of the college. And I appreciate Bob Vanderbilt sending out that email about one of our longtime part-time instructors, Scott Rayford. So I do want to, on behalf of the board, send our condolences to Scott's family, who's no longer with it. We lost last month. So thank you for doing that and sharing that with the campus community, Bob. And I will end it, announce our future board meetings, October 13th. And adjourn this board meeting at 8:44 p.m.